So I found an entry in my old journal. I only wrote this much, but I did move on to blogging about this online. But basically, in February 2022, I suddenly had this bright idea of wanting to do an all-shiny team playthrough. I've never done this before because the idea was daunting, especially in older Pokemon games where the odds of finding a shiny is 1 in 8192 or 0.012%. But I have had experiences finding shiny Pokemon with these odds before, and the feeling has always been exhilarating. To top it off, I do love a unique Pokemon team. So this was why I started my first Pokemon Dream Team quest in Pokemon Black, in which I pick 6 Pokemon I want on my team and hunt for their shiny variants in the game. I know people would normally be very specific in who they want in their team. Some people would prefer a rarer shiny like a 10% encounter rather than a 40% encounter from the wild, which would result in phases. This means that if the player finds a shiny that is not their target, that is considered one phase. And so it keeps going until the player finds their target. People can go up to 5-10 phases, and I did not want to fall into that, at least not with my first ever badge quest. I wanted to go a little easy on myself and decide whatever shiny I find first will be part of my team. Unfortunately, throughout this whole journey, I didn't record any live reactions because back then I just didn't have the mind to record live reactions. But I assure you that'll change in the future. I do love watching people's reactions to shiny encounters. In this video, I'll just be putting up photos of the shinies I found, the date I found them, and how many encounters they took. You can track how many wild encounters you've done in-game by going to your trainer card, turning it, and scrolling down to see the number of wild encounters you've made, which saves us from manually counting them. As I said in the beginning, I blogged about this online as well, which helped me keep track of all the dates and number of encounters. I'll link it below if anyone's interested. Just please don't mind that my banner said batch quest because I did sort of give up on that halfway through. I just didn't have it in me to obtain a shiny before every single gym leader, and I sincerely did not want to find shiny Deerling or any of its variants. But here it is, my shiny team in Pokemon Black. I began my journey on the 11th of February 2022. I decided since you wouldn't get the running shoes from mom until Route 2, I would hunt there as my first spot. The route gives you 3 options. You have a 40% chance of finding a Patrat, Lillipup, or a 20% chance of finding Purloin. Just a quick background info on why I'm starting with these guys. A few years ago, before this, I had successfully soft resetted for a shiny Pokemon in my copy of Pokemon White. But if you've played the Gen 5 games before or soft resetted for a shiny here, you'll know that the cutscenes can be a nightmare sometimes. It takes at least a minute to get through the whole thing before sending out your starter in battle to see if it is a shiny or not. If it's not shiny, you reset the game and start the whole thing again. I did not want to go through that pain again, so I thought I'd be better off running around the grass and surprising myself. I already had a shiny Patrat in my copy of Pokemon White 2, so I was hoping I could either get Lillipup or Purloin. On this day though, I only ran around for a couple of hours before hitting the hay. The next day, on the 12th of February 2022, I found the first member of my dream team. She only took 403 random encounters and it was Lillipup, which was one of my targets, so I was really happy about this. For her nickname, I was hoping I could associate it with Stoutland's royal green fur when it evolves, something like Avocado or Royale or something. Then for some reason my mind wandered to Ian Fleming's Casino Royale. Maybe I was just thinking of the green velvet fabric of a casino table, but that was what I ended up naming her. Casino the Shiny Lillipup. She's a brave and highly curious puppy, the perfect first companion. So I trudged on. I felt very motivated after my first successful hunt. And then I found another shiny on the same day. Where Lillipup was a day catch, this next shiny Pokemon appeared at night. I was so stoked that day, I felt like buying a lottery ticket. I was at Wellspring Cave where your options were Roggenrola or Woobat at 50% each. Or Drillbur through Dust Clouds, but who am I kidding? So it was really a coin toss between the two and I would be happy with either. Both shinies look amazing, but secretly, I did one Roggenrola because I love Roggenrola. The blue on Gigalith is my favorite, and Boldore and Gigalith are some of my favorite shinies. I didn't want to disappoint myself though, so I kept that secret to myself. Anyway, I was running around and 264 encounters later, I found Roggenrola. I was so stoked about this and I named him Batu, which means rock in my native language. He is a hasty boy who likes to relax. So right after catching him, I saved and logged off for the day. I have to say, 2 shinies in one day was a great way to start the quest. I didn't touch the game again until the 27th of February 2022, so I thought I'd compensate by doing more encounters on this day. My next hunt was at Pinwheel Forest, where you have a 35% chance of finding Cottony or Sawaddle, and 15% chance of finding Pidove or Venipede. My main targets were either Cottony or Venipede, but I would be happy with any. I fully expected to stay in this forest for hours, but something decided to shine very early on. At 408 random encounters, Shiny Cottony appeared, who I named Bluebell because when it evolves into Shiny Whimsicott, it's got these beautiful blue horns that remind me of flower petals. And she is somewhat vain as well, so I thought that was very fitting. So far the game was being extremely kind to me. I felt really lucky to have found 3 shiny Pokemon in just 1070 encounters in total. At this point, I started to plan ahead and see what kind of shiny Pokemon I can find and where I can find them. So I decided my next quest would be at the Relic Castle after defeating Berg at Castelia City. There are only 2 wild Pokemon you can get there, which are Sandile or Yamask at 50% each. I would have been happy getting any of them because their shiny variants are gorgeous, but secretly, I was worried I would experience a dry spell and hoped I haven't used up all of my luck yet. My next log was on the 6th of March 2022. I was taking it slow and only did 539 random encounters on this day. I wasn't really in the mood to commit my whole day to shiny hunting, so I logged off quickly. During that time though, I did think of nicknames for my potential catches. For a male Yamask, I would name it Tuttenstein, after that childhood mummy character. Female Yamask, I would name her Yzma. One of my favorite Disney villains, the purple on shiny Cofagrigus, was what reminded me of Yzma. For a male Sandile, I'd name him Louis. You can see the Disney theme here. And a female Sandile would be named Coco because shiny crocodile kinda looks like chocolate to me. It seemed like I wouldn't pick up the game again until the 26th of March 2022, when I suddenly had the urge to shiny hunt. Maybe it was during weekends or the fact that it was isolation period during COVID in WA. Either way, I did find something and was happy I decided to hunt that day. At 854 random encounters, I found Yamask. The first thing I noticed at the corner of my eye was her distinct silver mask. She is such a pretty shiny, a lax little girl who often dozes off, and I named her Yzma as planned. Here she is at the Pokemon musical because she was the first member of my team who had hands and could actually hold things. Yzma was encounter number 1924 and I was happy with my find so far. 4 shinies in total and all have been way under odds. But I was not looking forward to the next hunt because Route 5 was my next location and I wasn't the biggest fan of what were available. The only Pokemon I really wanted was Trubbish, but I would be happy with Liepard as well. I thought if I got Gothita or Minccino, I would strongly consider them as a face. A few months later, on the 11th of June 2022, I decided to pop in for a bit to do some random encounters. I got bored pretty quickly at 96 encounters and it didn't help that Trubbish throws sludge at you, which often poisons your Pokemon. There is a lot of dark grass in this area, which means double encounters may occur. So I was hopeful that would speed things up. Then I tried hunting again a week later on the 18th of June 2022 by doing 300 random encounters. I thought to pick the game back up tomorrow, but I didn't do so until the 6th of August 2022 when I finally found something and it was one I wouldn't complain about. It was a shiny Liepard, which was one of the 2 I wanted. She took me 5,260 random encounters and I was glad that it wasn't Gothita or Minccino. I decided to name her Leia because it's the name of our house cat. Leia is a really shy but lovely girl who loves to hunt, so they both share the same timid nature and good endurance. Now, I wouldn't pick the game back up until 2 years later in September 2024. Clearly, I haven't been feeling motivated enough to shiny hunt. Time got to me with work and life commitments. Even though I only needed 1 more Pokemon, I was procrastinating. At this point, I also realized I did not want to catch a shiny Pokemon before every gym leader. The idea itself really bumped me out. I was already happy with the Pokemon I had and I just wanted to play the game. So I thought, okay, just 1 more and I can choose any location as long as it's before Victory Road. My next immediate route was, I believe, Route 7 because I had just defeated Skyla. But there was Deerling in that route and I sincerely did not want shiny Deerling. So Dragon Spiral Tower became an option. The Pokemon you could find there have really cool shinies. Out of the 3 though, I really wanted either Golett or Druddigon. Druddigon being one of my favorite underappreciated dragon types. And Golett, whose shiny looks awesome and I needed a flying type in my team anyway. So I thought either would be perfect. I finally got down to shiny hunting again, now that I've got a solid game plan. I was hunting non-stop and eventually I went over odds. This was it, the dreaded shiny drought I was waiting for. I shiny hunted for weeks and before I knew it, it was October 2024 and I still hadn't found anything. To keep things more interesting, I decided to hunt with my copy of Pokemon White 2. I would run around the 3rd floor of Victory Road where there was an 80% chance of encountering Dredigon or 20% chance of encountering Zweilous. I would be really happy with either, but as you know, Dredigon was the one I really wanted and I knew I would get it quicker at 80%. So finally, after 9,000 random encounters in Pokemon Black and about 1,000 encounters in White 2, I found something. Not on the game I was expecting and have been hunting the past couple of weeks, but on the new game that I recently set up. And it was Shiny Dredigon in my copy of White 2. I named her Rock Candy because she looks like one and I love her colors. I caught her in the Dusk Ball and she is my quirky little gal. She will stay in this game, and the good thing is I haven't completed this game yet. It's still in its pre-Elite Four stages, so I'm excited to train her up and have her in my first Hall of Fame. She appeared in encounter number 9929 in Pokemon White 2, and she is actually not the only shiny in this file, but we can talk more about this in another video. Despite this, I was still very much on a dry spell in my original Dream Team Quest game, but I was more motivated than ever to find something. Around this time, I flew back home for a bit and found this. This is a Golurk figure I had as a kid. It came as a pair with Hydreigon, but Golurk was the only one I could find. I thought it was a message, and I was determined that when I came back home, I will stop at nothing to find my shiny Golett. I went back to single shiny hunting, and before I knew it, I was hitting double odds. Over 16,000 encounters and still nothing. I got stubborn and refused to double hunt at all. I just wanted Golett to shine. I would switch my consoles around while I was charging just to maximize my number of encounters. I booted up some shiny Pokemon videos online for inspiration, and as luck would have it, I found something while watching YourFriedBread's Safari Week compilation.
Wow, so now you can play!
I can play.
Do you want to get something to celebrate?
Michael.
I don't know.
It was finally over at 17,353 encounters. I found my shiny iron robot. I named him Earl because the shiny colors looked like Earl Grey tea to me. With no phases and 6 shiny Pokemon in my arsenal, my Dream Team quest was complete at 24,547 random encounters in total, which is an average of 4,091 encounters each. It was time for me to finish the story and prepare for the Elite Four. I traded my Pokemon to my White 2 copy for specific TMs and move tutors. I also defeated the last gym leader Drayden. Following the story and seeing all the colorful NPCs come together was so much fun. I love the Unova sprite designs so much. And of course training my team of 6 to become the very best they can be by EV training and leveling them up. Oh, and also getting Pokerus, that was new for me. Finally, it was time for me to take on the Elite Four. I had Krabby to accompany me in real life so that he can give me good luck while I battle the Elite Four. Yzma had a spell tag because it's her stab move. Casino had a shell bell to help recharge from wild charge damage. Earl had an expert belt because his move pool was pretty diverse and he is a hard hitter with Iron Fist ability. Batu was also a hard hitter, so I gave him a scope lens for critical hit attacks. Leia had a quick claw because she's the fake-out stab move speedster of the team. Finally, Bluebell had the big root because she was the annoying staller of the team, with Toxic, Leech Seed, and Giga Drain. Going into the Elite Four, I decided to make 2 rules to make this slightly more challenging for me. 1, I cannot heal during battles, and 2, if a Pokemon faints, they cannot participate in this battle anymore. I can, however, heal after the whole battle is over, and the fainted Pokemon can participate in the next battle. I felt bad for excluding my team members. I wanted them to experience the battles to their maximum capacity. I forgot where each Elite Four were located, so I randomly chose the second stairs, which was Grimsley's room. I love the Elite Four rooms so much. It adds so much character to the already beautifully designed Elite Four. Not to mention the typings of all of them are so well balanced. Anyway, Leia was first to take on Grimsley's Scrafty with a fake out, but I quickly learned she wasn't too cut out for Scrafty, so I decided to bring in Earl the Golurk for a super effective Drain Punch. Crocodile was easily taken down by Bluebell's Giga Drain and Bisharp by Casina's Fire Fang, which I was so impressed by considering she just survived Bisharp's Defiant boosted Night Slash. Slash. For Liepard, I wanted someone quite tanky, so I brought out Bluebell to finish it off with Leech Seed and Giga Drain. Next up was Caitlin, and she has a soft spot for me because she was my twin sister's favorite Elite Four, and we both grew up absolutely loving Caitlin's room. Like, having a gorgeous bedroom as your backdrop and essentially sleeping in your job was such a dream. Caitlin's Reuniclus dodged Bluebell's Leech Seed, so I thought I'd just send out Yzma to Shadow Ball it. Reuniclus landed 2 Psychics on Yzma, which got really close to me losing her. But luckily, Yzma outspeeds and landed 2 Shadow Balls to finish Reuniclus off. For Musharna, I was hoping Leia could finally shine, so I used Fake Out and Night Slash, but Musharna was too bulky for them. Leia stood her ground with a Charge Beam, and with that, was able to finish it off with a final Night Slash. Sigilyph was easily going to be Earl's opponent. I knew Ice Punch would be enough to take it down. For Gothitelle, I got Leia out to hopefully finish it off with Fake Out and stab Night Slash. However, this was probably a mistake, noting how low Leia's health was. Unfortunately, the combo moves were not enough to take Gothitelle down, and she was sadly brought down by Shadow Ball. To end the battle though, Bluebell finished it off with Giga Drain. My next opponent was Marshall, and he started off with Throw. I used Bluebell's Staller move combo, and it worked pretty well, considering all Throw could throw at me was Bulldoze, which were not effective. Next was Mienshao, and I was worried about its notorious high jump kick, so I got out Earl to use Fly, which knocked out Mienshao, thankfully. I forgot Sock had a sturdy ability, so using Fly was pretty dumb, but we finished it off with a Drain Punch anyway. With Conkeldurr, I probably should not have underestimated its defense, because Earl's Fly was not enough for a one-hit KO, so I used Earthquake and finally Drain Punch just for that extra HP boost. Finally, we have Chantel, my favorite Elite Four and room. I love her shelves full of books. I aspire to have a library like her one day. I remember as a kid, she would usually have Chandelier out first, which was why I had Batu first in line. But she sent out Cofagrigus instead. Either way, 2 Rock Slides from Batu was enough to knock it out. Chantel's Golurk was easily going to be Bluebell's opponent. 2 Giga Drains were enough to take it down, and the HP boost was also nice. Then Chandelier finally made an appearance, which was definitely Batu's time to shine. Last Pokemon was Jellicent, and with Casino barely participating, I thought this would be her chance. So she used Wild Charge once, which was not quite enough to take Jellicent down, so we weakened it a bit with Iron Head first before finishing it off with Wild Charge. Now it was time to defeat the champion. While I have played this game as a kid before, I did forget what was about to happen. You go down to Elder's Chambers and you are met with N, then suddenly the Team Plasma Castle shoots out of the ground and infiltrates the Pokemon League. I don't know why I forgot about this, to be honest, because this episode of Pokemon Generations where the Unova gym leaders banded together was my all-time favorite. To see the different colored stages and all the gym leaders together was so good to see. I ran off to look for N, not before I had a quick word with my favorite gym leader, of course. I ran into Concordia and Anthea, who I do remember seeing in the anime. I love their designs, they are such minor characters though, which is sad. Picked up all the items I could find in the castle, explored N's childhood room, finally found N and experienced the cool cutscene with his legendary partner and my soon-to-be legendary partner. I caught Reshiram with the first Ultra Ball I threw, which was good. I don't know what the capture rate was for Reshiram, but I was certainly not prepared for it. I hadn't switched out my Pokemon from my previous Elite Four battles, so Batu went head-on to battle Zekrom. Not a good type matchup, and Zekrom took Batu down with a few fusion bolts. I got really frustrated, so Earl went in for a revenge kill with Ice Punch. Vanillux was easily taken down by Casino's Firefang, and I was tricked by his Zoro coming in as a Klinklang. This sadly took Casino down because of Focus Blast, but Earl came in to save the day with Drain Punch. It goes without saying that Bluebell would take Caracosta with ×4 super effective Giga Drain. Earl quickly took the real Klinklang down with Drain Punch. I thought Yzma could try participating by battling Archeops, but her water-type hidden power wasn't enough sadly, and she was on the brim of fainting. So I quickly brought in Bluebell to outspeed Archeops and ended this with Giga Drain. Then another unexpected thing happened. I didn't know I had to defeat Gessis too. To speed things up, Leia brought Cofagrigus down with Night Slash. Earl brought Hydreigon down with Ice Punch. Bluebell took Seismitoad down with Giga Drain. Yzma took down a poisoned Electros, courtesy of Bluebell, with Hex. And finally, Earl took Bisharp down with Drain Punch. That seems to be that. N said his farewells and it was the end. I completed my first adventure with my team, but it was far from over. It didn't feel enough. I haven't even defeated the champion. I knew I could now traverse to the eastward locations. I also found all 7 sages, explored Black City, and ran across a trainer near a marvelous bridge for a triple battle. This is where I learned how highly leveled trainer Pokemon are, so I definitely had a lot of training to do. Then I was off to Route 14 for a bunch of Audino battles, and the Giant Chasm for even higher leveled Audinos. I even brought my game to work one day to finish up my training sessions. When I got home, I was finally ready to take on the Elite Four for the second time. Everyone was holding the same items except for Yzma, who held the Razor Claw because she now knows Psychic. This time, I had Roggenrola accompany me in real life during my battles. I added one extra rule to my previous challenge, which was that Pokemon should not be too over-leveled, and I could only have one slightly over-leveled Pokemon, which would be Earl. That's how I usually play as a kid, by the way. I love having an over-leveled team and knowing that they won't fail me. But adding these rules does make things harder and more interesting. My first opponent was Marshall, who I would say was the most grating to defeat within this Elite Four. His Breloom was just so annoying with Spores, but Yzma eventually brought it down with Psychic, which was good. I learned with Sock's sturdy ability it would be good for Earl to attack with 2 Ice Punches. Throw had a higher defense, so I weakened it a little bit with Drain Punch before knocking it out with Fly. Toxicroak was brought down easily by Earthquake and Conkeldurr by Yzma's Psychic. Mienshao actually made me nervous because it took down Yzma, and I had Batu left at the mercy of Mienshao's high jump kick. But I completely forgot Batu was also sturdy, so with the damage Yzma did on Mienshao, it was enough for barely standing Batu to finish it off with Rock Slide. I was so relieved. Caitlyn was the second hardest Elite Four this round. I decided to lead it off with Casino, but she quickly fell asleep. So Yzma took the turn to knock Musharna out with 2 Shadow Balls. Yzma endured Reuniclus's Psychic and finished it off with Shadow Ball. I didn't know what to do with Bronzong, so I thought Yzma would be the gambit in this round. I was not aware Bronzong was a physical attacker, but with its payback, it took on Yzma's Mummy, which removed its Levitate ability, so with that stroke of luck, Earl was able to finish it off with Earthquake. With Grimsley, his crafty proved to be a problem for Bluebell, so I switched her out to Earl to take care of this with Drain Punch. Crocodile was easily going to be Bluebell's opponent, and Bishop would be Casino's opponent, thinking Fire Fang would take it down, which, in a roundabout way, it kinda did. Very on brand actually, using Casino as a gambit for Bisharp. Liepard was taken down by Bluebell's Giga Drain, and Scolipede by Earl's Earthquake. Lastly, we have Chantel. Coffergrigus was quickly taken down by Leia's Night Slash. Bluebell used Giga Drain to knock Golurk out in 2 hits. With Casino barely in the spotlight, I used her to defeat Frostlass using Iron Head, and I thought Casino would be another gambit for Jellicent, but she really showed her true force by dodging Jellicent's Hydro Pump and then taking it down with 2 Wild Charges. Then Batu ended both the Fire Ghosties with a super effective Rock Slide. It was finally time to take on Elder. I forgot that bug types are weak against rock types, so in hindsight, I should have probably put Batu in my party lead, but I had Bluebell instead, which Selgor unfortunately took out. Luckily though, Bluebell did set up Leech Seed, but I prayed for Casino's Fire Fang to do something. I just about panicked when a Selgor landed a Focus Blast, but thanks to Casino's Intimidate, that might have reduced its attack and granted my girl her win for this round with 1 critical hit Fire Fang. My prayers were answered. Earl easily took Dredigon down with Ice Punch, and Batu smashed Vanillux with Rock Slide. Earl came back to take down Bouffalant, and Batu took the win with Rock Slide against Volcarona. I knew I had Casino in mind for a Scavalier, and my girl did not fail me. With that, I had defeated the Unova Elite Four and Champion. You might think this is the end, but not quite. There was just one more thing I had to do to finish this off with a bang. It took me 1,065 days to complete this challenge, solely due to procrastinating and other life commitments. To some people, the idea of participating in this challenge might seem like a huge waste of time, and I can't deny it's extremely time-consuming, requiring so much of your time and effort and patience, but it also taught me what being persistent looks like. By sticking to the challenges and goals you set for yourself and actually attaining them, training up the team and seeing them come together to defeat the Elite Four for a Hall of Fame and adventure I will never forget, it's all really satisfying to watch, and I had a lot of fun doing this. I can actually see and feel the hard work I've put into this game. It really pays off and it is very worthwhile doing. I have felt so lucky with this save file and I will treasure this game for years to come. I am so glad I got through this rewarding challenge. It has even inspired me to plan future hunts in this game like legendaries and other fun Pokemon scattered around the region. Maybe even more Dream Team quests in other games, who knows. I have been doing a lot of planning so far, so I am really excited to explore this in the future and meet other fellow shiny hunters in the community that can share the same joy of finding different colored Pokemon in the games. Please share stories of your own shiny hunts. I would be really interested to hear about them. Thank you for watching.